And so, my dear ones, when I woke up this morning, what was running through my mind was something Ernest Holmes said in one of his writings. There is a self beyond the self we know and experience, and that self is what we are all endeavoring to become consciously aware of. And when we do, we know always and forever we are never, ever alone. We're never alone because we exist in this sea of infinite intelligence, this sea of presence. We are ever available to calling it through us, empowering us. And it is ever available and responsive to you and to me when we do call upon it. But call upon it we must. That's what we're asked to do. Call upon me. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will refresh you. Cast your care upon the waters of life and be refreshed. And the waters of life, anywhere in Scripture you find water, it has to do with consciousness. You and I are swimming in a sea of consciousness, vast consciousness. There's nowhere where it doesn't exist. And you and I are moving in it all of the time. Mostly for all of us, unaware of it. But that's why we have moments like this, to take time out of the busyment of the embodiment, the marketplace, as I call it, the exterior outer world, so that we can know something more, sense something more, feel something more, and be reassured, reaffirmed, reestablished, regardless of what's going on. Fear, really and truly, you'll be amazed at how much fear has us in its grip. How afraid we are of this and that and the other, and most of what we fear never happens. Never happens. And all of us, when we learn to practice the presence, which is to consciously be aware that there's something great available to me, and I'm living in it, I'm moving in it, it's living and moving in and through me, and I can access it, call upon it, evoke it, to assist me however I need assistance, to know something, to be clear on something, to figure out something, to release something, to be open to something coming in for my good and the good of all. And remember, when you and I are looking for something, wanting something, needing something, in the spiritual realm, it must be for good and only good. And not just for my good, but what I want for myself of good, I can be delighted in wanting for every person, place, and thing on the planet. Yes, every single one, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. Because all of that, believe it or not, somehow or another that I don't understand, but I do sense, is a part of me. If I'm interrelated, interconnected with everything and everyone, I don't get to pick and choose who those ones are. It's everyone. So why wouldn't I want those parts of me in some way to be the best that they can be? And if they need to mend, to fix and heal, why wouldn't I want that? Of course I would. Spiritually minded, I would. I would never want to separate myself from any person, place, or thing, ever. Don't misunderstand me. Not wanting to separate myself from every person, place, and thing doesn't mean I have to hang out in areas that are dangerous or people who seem to be dangerous. No, I don't have to hang out at all or be anywhere near them. But I can bless everything, and I can bless everyone, and I can know for everyone that within them there is that now open receptivity to understanding who they really are and what they really are. I can know that. Remember, there's no distance in spirit. And my good thought and my good word doesn't have to travel. It doesn't travel distances at all. There's no distance to travel when you're right in the presence. And so when we wish another good, we're in the presence of love and light and that energy that assures us that there's only one thing for us to do, and that is bless. Bless everything and everyone. And again, you hear me say it over and over again, sometimes we as human beings have to begin with blessing something or someone through gritted teeth. You see, that's okay. That's a beginning. That's a start. And if we bless enough, even when our whole heart is not in it, eventually the moment will come when you and I will bless and will truly be one with the blessing, and we will mean it and desire it deeply for that which we are blessing. That's how blessing works. So how many moments in the day do you and I get to stop and bless something or someone and ourselves? How many moments throughout our day do we do this rather than complain and moan and groan and bellyache? We're very good at that, have you noticed? So imagine all the energy that you and I put into moaning, groaning, complaining, criticizing, resenting, judging, and so on. The list goes on. All those moments, if they were to transfer themselves into blessing, instead of what we're about to criticize, bless it. Can you just imagine how the day would be? It would be so light and energetic. You'd be feeling so good and so together and so at one with yourself. You would think you were on cloud 9, and you would be. Why? Because you're in a state of conscious grace and blessing. Now, no one is going to understand this until we try it out. Give it a shot. Give it a fair chance. Now, when we say try this out, it doesn't mean you do it once, you do it twice, or even 3 times, and then you come back and say, see, I did it and it doesn't work. Ernest Holmes would say you do it until it does work. You do it until it does work. That's what praying without ceasing means. You stick with your original prayer through supporting it and supporting it and supporting it and supporting it, even though there's absolutely nothing to suggest to you from out there that it's happening. See, that's what faith is. Faith is sticking to your guns, sticking firmly on terra firma with your intention, even though there's not a shred of evidence to support you. Nothing out there backs you up. Nevertheless, this is if it is a thing for good. You stick with it. You say, this is what I'm knowing, this is my truth, regardless of what the exterior world would have me believe. The interior self of myself knows this is good. And what is good is a good thing to happen. And for it to happen, I must keep knowing that it's happening, and I must feel that it is happening, even though I can't see anything that would suggest it is. That's faith. And we only need faith until we don't need it anymore. There comes a time when some individuals don't need faith anymore because they're practiced in the unified state of being. And they've had enough experience to know. I don't need to pay any attention to these externals that tell me this is not so, because remember, every single thing is opinion except the one truth. And that one truth has to be unfolded by each and every single one of us in our own way, in our own manner. The Bhagavad Gita says the self must raise the self. The big self must raise the self to raise itself, the small self. There is that self of me, as Ernest Holmes says, beyond anything I may have experienced as a human being, I may have come to know as a human being. There is a self beyond that. And the self that is beyond that is the almighty, infinite beingness of life itself. And it is the creator, the sustainer, the maintainer, and the lover of life. Your life, and all life. Now, how wonderful would it be if you had a solid relationship with that presence? An absolute, solid, faith-filled reliability around that awareness. I can trust my source. So therefore, nothing need disturb me, no matter what. Because out of being practiced sufficiently with the understanding I'm in the presence and the presence is in me, there is nothing to fear. Why? Because life is a continuum. And life's movement is always in a forward trajectory. Life's movement is forward, not backwards. So life moves us forward whether we like it or not, know it or not, feel it or not, or even want it or not. It does. And a lot of the time we feel we're going backwards. But all of the time we're going forward. It's like driving up a mountain. It always fascinated me. To get to the top, sometimes you're driving down to go up. You're driving down to go up. You're driving down to go up, and eventually you get to the top. And it's the same with you. If you see your life as the spiraling thing, the spiraling is always going up, and it's always expanding out. And it's always expanding deeper. But on the downward swing in the spiral, it sometimes feels like we're going backwards. We're not. It's just the energy is moving us this way so we can come higher. 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 Now, what practicality has this got to your everyday life and living? Everything. It has everything to do with it. Because when you and I get into a bind, when you and I feel our energy sinking, when you and I get a thud in the solar plexus because you've just heard some news you didn't want to hear, or something's happened you didn't want to have happen, or something never turned out the right way as far as you're concerned, instead of going there, that sense of deflation, because when we get the pity feeling in our solar plexus, and we will all the time as human beings, the key is don't let it suck the oxygen out of you. Don't let it pull your energy. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. Breathe it out. Let it be, and then know. I can know something more than this. I can know something other than this. I can know the good in this that is there for me and I'm supposed to have. And so I say yes to this good happening by means of this experience. And breathe, breathe, breathe. I trust my source, I trust my source, I trust my source as you breathe. God by means of me has this in hand. Good comes out of this because I know good comes out of this, and what I know happens. What I know, what I feel, what I am convicted of, convinced of, always happens because that's how mind works. The great universal mind, the great creative consciousness, listening into us all the time, and it corresponds to what it hears. That's how mind works. It listens, and then it corresponds to what it hears. And then it makes the way straight for it to happen in our lives as an experience. Be careful, because that happens on both sides of life, the negative and the positive. It's an awesome thing when you really think about it, because the law of mind is totally neutral. It doesn't have favorites. It doesn't play sides. It knows nothing about sides or favorites or one being better than the other. Not at all. Just responds to us where we are. It honors our sovereign individual right to think and choose ourselves. And then it responds to that. So if I am thinking scary thoughts, upset thoughts, and so on, very often then I might experience later a headache, stomach ache, or some such. That's the outward result of it. That's what I've created for myself. Whereas if I've been thinking happy thoughts, good thoughts, blessing thoughts, healthy thoughts, and all of that, I might be in for a wonderful surprise that I didn't expect. Or I might indeed feel great and wonderful and energetic and loving life and being a very real awakened energy in the day, in the moment, full of a sense of all is well, full of a sense of gratitude to feel this way. And then that pushes us to praise and thanksgiving. And that pushes us to bring the best of ourselves into life and living. Best of ourselves out there. We've no problem helping out, being the good Samaritan, wherever we are. Because we're feeling it. We're feeling the essence and the presence of love wanting to give itself out, wanting to make the difference, wanting to share from the abundance that I have, and delighted to do so. That's what having a close conscious connection with our source does for us. And it's the one relationship probably that the majority of us neglect and take for granted. And then when we're in a tight spot, just throw a prayer out there somewhere for help. And then wonder why the help doesn't come in a timely fashion or whatever. It's like any relationship. It needs nurturing. It needs developing. It needs attention. It needs our time, effort, and energy. And when I say effort, I just mean our doing, our deciding, our willingness. Because to be really consciously connected with Source is outside of struggle. There's no struggle to it. There's no effort to it. There's no forcing it. There's no musting it. I must kind of thing. It's just a lovely feeling you get when you've decided to take time out. It's like a lovely feeling you get for any nice treat you want to have. It's like you're in the middle of something and you decide, okay, it's time to take a little break. I'll go make myself a lovely cup of tea. That's me. I'll make myself a lovely cup of tea. It's so wonderful what happens between the time I make the decision, make the tea, have the tea, and so on. It just gives you a chance to just step out of the problem and into something that's lovely and something that's free of pressure. So today I would ask each and every one of us to make the intention to pause through our day, take a moment out and remember there's a power and presence for good in the universe that is so omnipotently, energetically ready to respond to our request, our attention. And tune into it and be in it just for a moment, for maybe even the time it just takes to draw in the breath, bringing in the breath of life itself as a blessing, and then breathing it out as a blessing upon all of life too. If you were to get into the practice of that throughout your day, I promise you, your days would be welcomed and you would be able to go to sleep at night feeling this was a good day. Yes, it would. Because it's like being in the company of your best pal, your best bud, your best friend. That always makes us feel good. So please, dear hearts, just know there's a self that you are that's beyond the little self that you know, and it would love your company. It would love you to spend time in its company. And it would be very refreshing to do so, and very enlightening to do so, and very centering to do so. So I invite us all today to do that as much as we possibly can. And I like to say, at the end of everything you're doing, we engage in many tasks throughout the day. So at the end of a task, even if it's only 5 minutes or maybe 5 hours, stop and pause and remember, okay, change of energy, change of breath. Breathe in that beautiful power and grace of spirit. Let it refresh you, let it re-energize you, let it recharge you, let it calm you, let it center you, and so on. At the end of every task, just tune in. And your days will be long and beautiful and wondrous indeed. And you will be a very real and present help on this plane because of your beautiful energy. So, my dear ones, if it's going to be, remember, it is up to you and it is up to me. And when it says the self must raise the self, that means you and you alone have to do that. Nobody else can, nothing else can. You yourself are responsible. And isn't that wonderful to know? Because that means you're awesomely great to be able to do that. So today, please do celebrate yourself, the great self of yourself, living, moving, and having its being in you, and the rest will take care of itself. It truly will. So again, I'm so grateful that we're in this beautiful moment together. I trust that everybody's benefited as a result. I trust that everybody you meet as a result of this time we've had together will be absolutely blessed by your lovely energy. And it'll be the good you're participating in the world and making this world a more united and wonderful, safe, and great place to be. So we're going to celebrate now our fullness and our plenty and our sense of all being well, because we have an abundance in our lives. And we do. And abundance has to do with every aspect of our life and living. Every aspect, abundant health, abundant wealth, abundant loving relationships, abundant creative expression, abundance in all of my affairs. Abundance is big. It's not just confined to financial situation. That is a very important part of it and is included. But imagine feeling abundance of mind and abundance of heart and abundance of body and abundance of soul and a great sense of abundance in all of our affairs, because we can. And thank you for all of your abundant good thoughts, your abundant good feelings, your abundant good actions, and your abundance in sharing of your treasure, your wealth, your financial well-being. We are very grateful to you for all of that. And it's a beautiful practice, and let us all keep it up and trust divine providence and understand the law of circulation. You cannot bless anything or anyone in any way without being blessed yourself. It's impossible, because that's how life works. The law of life is the law of correspondence. What I give is what I get. What I bring and put in is what I get back. And if we could learn that simple lesson, none of us would ever be without any good thing. So thank you. And now we're going to take our gift between our hands and say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love. And so it is. And so know, dear hearts, that you are being blessed and blessed and blessed, and being filled with prayerful energy. And we are here for you every way we can be here for you. Stay patient, stay strong. Know we're moving through all of this now, and very soon we'll be in a whole new experience. I didn't say back to normal. I don't want to go back to that normal, whatever it was. It wasn't working. There were too many people in the world, sad, sick, hungry, disenfranchised, and so on. That's not a world I want to go back to, and I'm sure you don't either. But we will be in a new world, a more integrated world, a more love, spirit, conscious world. That's what I'm knowing. Please join me in knowing that too. And know you make the difference, and you're the one that's going to make this happen. Because it doesn't happen in great globs of groups at a time. It happens one individual mind and heart at a time. Take care of your mind. Take care of your heart, and the rest will take care of itself, I assure you. So stay connected to your source. Lean into it throughout the day. Just know it's on your side. It's always supporting you, and it wants only your good. And keep that consciousness, and all then will be well. For it already is. It just awaits your awakening and mine too, to know it, and to feel it, and to be it. So take good care of yourself, and know only good things for yourself and everyone else too. And until we meet again, please tune in to everything that's available for those inspirations. Tea and Chat is now called Tea and Inspiration, because really it's more of a spiritual sharing by us all. So I will leave you now the way the children always say farewell. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Be good to yourself.